Welcome to The Table, a podcast where we share real stories, struggles, and victories as we walk together in faith. This week, join me and my guest, Sarah White, as we talk through motherhood, dreaming dreams, life changes, all the different kind of things that you're probably going through or have gone through in the past. There's a lot of wisdom here about living in community and letting people see the places where you struggle instead of trying to hide those things and put on this facade that everything is okay and perfect. You'll hear about the way that God changes plans to prepare you for something that's coming that you may or may not know about, and how there are seasons of rest and seasons of hurt and pain that all bring you to the place that you are today. All of our stories are marked by seasons of highs and lows, and hopefully you're able to hear this story and see the faithfulness of God and the way that He used community to carry Sarah through a particular season in her life. So grab a seat and come to the table and join me in my conversation this week with Sarah White.
Yeah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Catherine.
Welcome to the table. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited. And I've been hoping to talk to you outside of wedding planning for the last year. So
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, I don't know that I've had an uninterrupted, not wedding focused conversation with you yet. So I'm equally excited for that too. We met because my sister Ashley, who's not a stranger to the podcast, married your brother Lucas, so he's my brother-in-law, and
you're a saint for having him.
He's great. We love him.
He is great. We love him.
Over the last, well, they've been married a year now, so over the last couple of years, we've gotten together to celebrate them in lots of different ways, including the wedding, and that's kind of how we met.
Yeah.
I think Ashley kind of ties us back together. I hear a lot about you and your family from her and Marco Polo's, and so I was really excited to have you here and just get to know you a little bit more. Do you want to introduce yourself to me and to our listeners?
Yeah. So I'm Sarah White. It's the most uncolorful name that anyone could ever have. It's so bland and boring. We live in Columbus, Mississippi, which is about 30 minutes outside of Starkville, if you're a Mississippi State fan, which you're probably not. Most people aren't. And then my husband and I, my husband's James. We've been married for 13 years. We have 6 children at varying ages from 18 all the way down to 1. And we planted a church in Columbus about 5 years ago called Redeemer Church Columbus. And yeah, we've been tilling the soil, as you know, some people might say, of Columbus, Mississippi for the last 5 years. We've been in ministry since he was in ministry before we married. He through being a youth pastor and a pastor, and then we married. So we've been doing ministry together for about 13 years now. And yeah, this was the biggest venture we've gone out on so far was Redeemer Church. And then we also own 3 businesses and run those with our kids and homeschool and do all the things that, like, I should probably be medicated for, but I'm not, and that's okay. And that's okay.
I'm curious what your calendar looks like. Just hearing you talk, I just feel busy. Like do you have any downtime?
Sometimes I like this, like I'll go, like we own coffee shops primarily on coffee shops. And so when I go and work the coffee shops, that's my downtime. Because there will be essentially some point of like quiet where nobody's there. Yeah. And that's when I have downtime. And it's nice. Yeah. It's very nice. I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
I need to plan a trip out there and have some coffee and visit your
Make Ashley
church.
bring you. You need to make Ashley bring you. I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
I don't either. We're going to do it now. This is going to hold us accountable.
We need it.
Um, there are so many things I want to ask you about, but I'm gonna pause and just see what comes up
Yeah,
naturally and not take
sure.
all the time for myself. Um, but I am really excited. We're in this series on the podcast this whole summer, just talking about difficult seasons that people walk through
Yeah,
and how they have seen the faithfulness of God in those seasons. So, just in
yeah,
the things that you just said out loud, there are so many seasons that I could think of that you could talk about. So I'm excited to see where the conversation goes. But for all of our guests, we have these get to know you questions. So I'm going to
yeah.
start there and get to know you a little bit. Sarah,
Amen.
what's something that you do to fuel your spirit lately?
We so I so Redeemer focuses heavily on discipleship, super heavy on discipleship. That's something that we really push. And so one of the things that we do, specifically James and I do every year, a couple of other of our members also do this. We walk through a book called What is the Gospel before we start discipleship with someone. And to keep fresh on what is the gospel, I try to walk through it at least once a year. So I've been walking through it again this year, and it's a very simple book, essentially teaching you how to explain the gospel to an unbeliever. And but every time this is probably the I don't even know how many times I read this book, probably 15 at this point. This is, so I've read it so many times. I have so many notes in it, but every time I read it, there's a new thing I find about experiencing Christ through the gospel and experiencing Christ through scripture. Um, and so it's like I've been reading that again and just kind of been trying to kind of mentally prepare for this next year. We have a couple in our church that's getting married and they're young and like, and we're walking with them through premarital counseling. And so that's been fueling
Mhm.
my spirit again lately is like walking through the conversation of like, what's marriage going to look like for a
Yeah.
young couple who's like, they're just like, they're still in the they're so madly, deeply in love and like nothing hard's happened quite yet. And like, but like receiving that joy from them has really fueled like, I don't know, there's just something so pure about it and something so holy about it. And it just, oh, I'm about to cry thinking about it because it just gets me. It gets me because they're just so yummy. They're so delicious. And they're just so like they're so committed and fervent in their prayer and
Yeah.
like their faith in the Lord. So that has really been like fueling my spirit lately. And then we're walking through Hebrews as a church together. And um anyone who's ever done a communal Bible study with of their fellow believers, especially in their local church, there is something so like fiercely just all consuming about that in terms of the spirit of the Lord, just walking through scripture together with fellow brothers and sisters in Christ and going like line by line with them and listening and learning off of them. We had community group at our house last night. We were walking through Hebrews 6 and just the conversation around like anchoring ourselves in Christ. Specifically Hebrews 6, 13 through 20. And it was anchoring like how Christ is the anchor of our hope. And that is where our hope sits. And that is where our hope should stay. And how he went into the inner places that we could not enter so that we may enter later. Like fueling me. I am gassed up, ready to go.
Yeah.
It's keeping me going.
I love all of those things that you mentioned. I don't know who I was with. It honestly, it could have been a podcast. I don't know. I was just talking
Get that.
about this, about how special it is to read through scripture with people that you do life with, because it's like we're all doing our own thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's cool when you and I have read the same thing, and then like
Mm-hmm.
I learn something from it and share it with you, and then it comes up in your life and you share it with
Yeah.
me. It just helps kind of foster that sense of community, and so I love that. I'm gonna link to all those things that you said to the What is the Gospel book for sure for our
Oh,
listeners
so
to
good.
dive back into. I want to check that out too because I haven't read that one. All right, talk to me about fellowship. Where do you find fellowship? Where are you finding fellowship lately?
Oh, so our house is a huge place of fellowship. We call it an open door policy at our house. Any time of the day, you need somewhere to go, you gotta stop and go to the bathroom, got a kid that's got a potty, you need a snack, you need to come. We have people in and out of our house pretty much daily. Um, and I love that. We've always that was started out early in our marriage. James was a youth pastor. And so we constantly had kids just in and out of the house, just constantly flowing in and out of the house. And I am very seclusion. I like seclusion. I'm a seclusive, like a reclusive person, and that taught me so much about like no man is an island. You cannot do this alone. And so now I couldn't imagine not having people in our home all the time. Like I said last night, it was Father's Day. We had a house full of people, and it was so precious and it was so sweet. And so we found a lot of fellowship there. We're constantly having people over, and it's so lovely. And then like also our coffee shop, like we own one in downtown Columbus called Gradia, and Gradia is Latin for grace, and we really have a beautiful community there, with our staff, but also just with people in the community. And so I will go to I'll have to go to Gradia this afternoon to get something, and I know when I go in there, I'm going to see someone I know. We're going to have probably 10 to 15 minutes of just solid like time together, and it's going to be meant for something. It's going to be very useful, and it's going to be very uplifting for me, hopefully them, but also for me. And so I found a lot of fellowship there. And then we have a great homeschool community here in Columbus, and so if you're a homeschooling parent, and it can be very isolating, and it's easy to isolate yourself as well. And so that our homeschool community is really a very it's very necessary for me to find fellowship and with other moms who are also struggling to teach their kid trigonometry, or struggling to get their kid not to eat a snack for the 8th time during a lesson. Or also, like, I mean, our kids are we have teenagers, so other moms struggling with like a rebellious teen who just doesn't want to do what they're supposed to do. And so I find a lot of fellowship there, a lot of community and fellowship there.
Yeah. It sounds like you have really specific community for very specific things,
Yeah.
and that it's not just about like getting together with people that they're like
I wish.
sustaining you and pouring into you.
They are.
um
They are.
yeah. I want to know. I have some follow-up questions just because I'm getting to know
Yeah.
you, and so I can cut these out if you don't want me to.
No,
But
hit me.
tell me what grades your kids are in. Like, what are you homeschooling right now, or what are you going to homeschool in August?
So I've got a senior. I have a
Okay.
senior. I have 2 8th graders. Yeah, 2 8th graders, a 2nd grader, and then I have a 4-year-old who's like pre-K, and then we have the baby who
Okay.
specializes in blocks,
Yeah.
blocks and blocks and purees. That's what she
Yeah.
specializes in. So yeah, I have a range of ages.
A wide variety. My goodness,
Yes,
that
a
you're
variety.
teaching all of them. That feels to me as a not homeschool mom, that feels like that could be a full-time job by itself. And then when I hear
Hmm.
you talk about all the other things, I just there's enough time in the day.
It's not.
Okay, I want to
It's
I
not.
want to ask
It's
about
not
the
that
coffee
hard.
shop.
Yeah.
You're lying. It is that hard. You're just God is giving you all the grace you need to do it well.
He is
Um,
gracious. He is so kind.
He gives you what you need for sure.
He
Talk to me
does.
about the coffee shop. Like, what
Yeah.
was that your dream all along? To like, oh, are you really passionate about coffee? Like, tell me, how'd that come to be?
Yeah. So no, I was not passionate about coffee. My husband and I have been together. I was 15 when I met him.
Okay.
Or well, when we started dating, we've been together since I was 15. He's 2 years older than I am, but since I've known him, since he was 17 years old, he has wanted to open a coffee shop. He is an 80-year-old
Okay.
man. He loves a cup of coffee. He
Yeah.
dresses like one. He just loves a good cup of coffee. And so, for years we scouted a location, never made sense for us. And then when we decided to plant Redeemer, we knew that the Lord was calling us to live in Columbus and to build our lives here. And so we had one coffee shop in a little town. So we live kind of outside of Columbus in this very little tiny hamlet called it's called Caledonia. And so we have a little coffee shop in Caledonia, and that we opened, and then we built a beautiful community out of that coffee shop, and we were like, we want to do this again. And so we decided to open Gradia in downtown Columbus, because we kind of wanted to replicate that in downtown Columbus. Um, and it has actually done far more than 740 has in Caledonia, because Columbus is a larger area, but in terms of discipleship. So we use 740 a lot for discipleship, but we've been using Gratia in excess. And so it's really done a lot. But essentially our goal is to like just really ingrain ourselves in our community and love our community well. And coffee is a really great place to get to know people. It's a really great thing to get people will come in the door for a cup of coffee and they'll leave with a group of friends they didn't expect to ever have. And so that was kind of the goal. And then also I love free coffee. And so this means that I get my own free coffee. So, I mean, it's a win-win for me. It's a win-win.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, that's so sweet. I could like sit and listen to you talk about those stories. I'm sure you have so many stories of ways that God has used a coffee shop for your family and other families too. That's just so cool. Yeah. Okay, third question is a heavy hitter. What is something that you need forgiveness for lately?
Oh, what don't I need forgiveness for, Catherine? So, I mean, the list could go on. Honestly, like, I really wrestle in my life. I always have with, I struggle with discontentment, like heavy discontentment. Like, I will go through seasons where I'm like, why is this my life? Which I know I'm like, just described like such a beautiful life. And I'm like, that's crazy. But I really wrestle with it. So this was never my plan. I never planned to be a stay-at-home parent ever. Definitely never planned on homeschooling my children. I was going to be a doctor and I was going to just do my thing. And then the Lord called us to, which we always knew he would, but we didn't know it would be in this way, but he called us to adoption. And I wound up having 4 kids in a year and realizing quickly that like I would I far prefer being home with these kids who need their mom than pursue whatever worldly goal I had. And I still wrestle with that. That's still something I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, really? I put all these years into this work and like time to now be home and essentially be, a butler for my children on a daily basis. But in that, the Lord has been so gracious and he's been so kind to like be so patient with me. He's so patient with me and so patient when I am so very discontented and so very grumpy about where I am in my life. And so I ask forgiveness for that a lot, pretty much daily. And he has been so gracious to like, he's been sanctifying me through it. Not quite there yet, but I'm hopeful that at some point in my life, the Lord will remove that millstone from my neck and I won't deal with that anymore. But he has always provided, and he has always provided exactly what we needed when we needed it. And so, yeah, I have to ask for forgiveness quite often for that, but he's always so incredibly gracious in it. Like, so just overly gracious in it.
That is so funny that you say that. I'm going to be really honest with you
Hit
for a
me.
second. I am sitting here listening to you talk about this really beautiful life that you just
Yeah.
described and you just said is so beautiful, and thinking to myself like, oh gosh, I wanted that. I wanted to have a house where people come all the time, and I wanted to have a house full of kids, and I want to be able to. I want to stay home. Like, I'm sitting there thinking how to think. And while you're talking, I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not the grass is not greener, right? Like we're all
No,
called to
yeah.
different things, and I'm gonna sit in the blessings that God has given me. And so it is so funny that you say what you just said, because it's like not that there's something that's not beautiful about your life. Like
No.
it's really when I hear you talk about it, I'm just like that is just the most precious thing. Like everything you
I love
said
it.
just sounds so precious. And so I think
Yeah.
gosh, I just appreciate you for being honest, because I
Yeah.
bet there's a lot of other people who sit and listen to your story, to my story, to my sister's story, to all these people that we listen to every day and think, gosh, that's it. Like if
That's
I
it.
had
Yeah.
that life, that would be it. And
No.
really, we all have different things that God has given us, and we're
Yeah.
all trying our best to be content in those things, and it looks different for everyone. So I say that to say, A of all, I struggle with the same thing, clearly. um,
I think we probably all do at some level struggle with it. Yeah.
Yes, we all do. And gosh, if we don't have these conversations, then
Yeah.
we just look at each other and think, man, they got it all. They got it all
Yes, you
together.
really do.
They're living the life. And we have to have, I think, the honesty that you had to say, even though this is so beautiful, there's really hard
It
parts
is.
too, or there's
Yeah.
things that I wish were different.
Yeah.
So wasn't expecting that, but that's I tried not to laugh. It wasn't
Well,
funny at all. You're
no,
saying it
but
wasn't
like
funny. But as I'm hearing you, I'm like, I just thought that.
we laugh. I have to tell you, we laugh about these things in our house because it's like, so for it, like, can I just bypass sidebar here? Our toilet broke again. Our house is notorious for a broken toilet. Every year, at
Yeah.
some point, our toilet either floods or breaks. Every year, no, on like clockwork. And so my husband was in North Carolina about 2 weeks ago now for a pastor's conference or a conference. And I'm home alone with the kids, toilet broke again. And so I take the lid off to look at it, and the chain has broken from the hook. And I'm like, how does this even happen?
How
Chain's
does that
completely
even
broken. We're having to manually, it's a whole thing. So last night people were coming to our house, and I begged my husband, I was like, please fix this toilet before people come to our house. I'm so embarrassed. I don't want them to see like we're having to like manually manhandle
flush?
flush this toilet. Like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And James is so like, he is so nonchalant. I mean, I don't know if you probably got the view from the wedding. He just does not like, nothing bothers him. He's like, it is what it is. God is sovereign, no matter what, whatever. He's so nonchalant. And he looked at me and he goes, I guarantee no one cares about our toilet. They're not here for a toilet. They're here for a community. I said, get out
Of
of this
course he did.
house. Get out of this house. You're no longer welcome here. Get out of my house. But he was right. He's
Yeah.
like, Sarah, nobody comes to this house for our toilet. They come here for our community. And I was like, well, you just put me in my place. And he was like, because you're discontent in the life that you have right now. And he's like, you need to find actually what God's doing.
Oh,
Rude.
that's
So
rude.
rude of him to spiritually lead me.
I
Oh,
know. Gosh.
disrespectful. But no, I mean, but he's right. He was like, and
Yeah.
those are moments where I'm like, God, why do we have, like, our house is from the 80s. It is not new. It still has fruit wallpaper on the kitchen. It's like, and those moments are God's like, but you have a house. You have a
Yeah.
house that people feel comfortable in. You have something that people want to attend. Like, why are you mad? So
I
real, because
know.
but it literally hits me every day. So I have to constantly ask for forgiveness for it. So, but
That's a
we all
great,
struggle with
great
it.
example. I think we all do. And
We all
like
struggle
our
with it.
whatever it is, like if
Yeah.
everyone has their toilet. Like that's
Yes,
their
everyone has a
thing that they're
toilet.
annoyed with. Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Everybody does.
yeah.
Everybody has their toilet.
That is rude though. Shame on James. Millie is in, we did like the sign language class, and so she signs to me when she's mad at me now. And she's been signing to me RUDE. Stop being rude. So that's what I think of. Of course I'm kidding. Like what a good husband to lead you that way, but it just is it's
No,
funny.
I hate when
So
he's so nice.
Okay. I truly, this is, I think I said this on the podcast before. I think I said this to you. I don't ask people what they're going to talk about
Yeah,
necessarily. I don't like look at notes. So I don't know what season you're about to talk about, but I do want to, I want to get into it and like hear
yeah.
more about, some of your life and let you share your story. So what season or what hard time. I can't think of another way to say it.
No, yeah.
What do you want to talk about today? What season do you want to share?
So when you sent this list over, I was sitting there and I was like, "Well, there's a lot of ones we can walk through." I mean, like, we've been through some storms, as my
Some
mother would say.
things.
We've been through some
Yeah.
stuff. But the one that I think about pretty often, and the one that I see a lot of a lot of our former church members. So we do a lot of we work with the local we have a military base here, so we work with the military a lot. So we have people coming in and out of Redeemer pretty often. And so some of our friends have also recently walked through something similar, and I was like, oh, you know what? That is, I don't think people talk about it enough, and but it's also like, it's beautiful and awful and painful and wonderful all at the same time, and I think it's important to see the Lord in that. And that is when we were going through adopting our children. So 3 of our children are adopted. Our 3 oldest children are all adopted, and they came into our lives very unexpectedly. We had our biological eldest child, Lottie, was 5 months old, and they were being fostered by my husband's aunt and uncle. And we just happened to they had come to his grandparents for a visit. We went over to visit, and we left knowing that those were our children and that we had to figure out a way to get them to home. And
How old were they? Can you
they
tell
were,
us?
yeah, they were, at the time, they were 11, 6, and 5. So our oldest daughter was 11, and then our boys were 5 and 6. And so and they were just tiny little things. I mean, it's still tiny little things in my brain, but, and so we just kind of like knew, like, these are our kids. We've got to get these kids home. And I hear a lot of people talk about the beauty of adoption and the excitement around it, because it's beautiful and it's exciting, and it's all the things, like, it's all the things of bringing a baby home or bringing kids home.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. But there's dark in it, and it's sad, and it's hard, and it's a hard fought love that you have for your children when you bring them home this way. And I I have been through some really terrible things in my life and some really hard moments, but I think that this was the first time that God ever was like, I kind of felt like he had to pull me out from underwater. I didn't and I never felt like that before. I'd never felt that God actually had to physically pick me up before.
Yeah.
Um, I felt like he was there and he was walking with me and he was gonna, help me up, but I never felt like him physically have to like lift me up out of something like I did during that process. So, um, and nobody really talks about that. And so, but I think it's important for people to know, because adoption is, I believe that we are called to it to some level, whether that's supporting foster care, being a foster parent, being an adoptive parent, sponsoring an adoptive family. I think as believers, we're all called to that. But I do think that it's important that we know that, like, you're going to have to lean heavy on the Lord if this is the path that he's calling you on. And so yeah, when our children came home with us, it was March 16th, 2020, which was the day that the state of Alabama shut
Yeah.
down. So,
Yes, it was.
it was. So we got a call. It was a Friday. We got a call that morning from our social worker. Our children were actually about 6 hours away. At the bottom,
Okay.
we were living in Alabama at the time. They were about 6 hours away, and our social worker called, and she said, if you're going to get these kids, you're getting them today. We don't know when we'll be able to bring them again. We at that point had some little visits here and there. They'd come and stayed weekends with us. They came and stayed over Christmas break, but we'd not had them for a long period of time. And so she said, if you're going to get them, you're going to get them today, because we're having a shutdown. There's a virus. We're having a shutdown. I don't know when I can bring them to you again. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds good. Our local school was closing for 2 weeks to clean, which they did
Yeah.
often during flu season. So we were like, okay, we'll have them at home for 2 weeks. They'll get them enrolled in school. Like, we'll get moving. Everything's going to be good. And then at this point, they were still in foster care. So we were their foster parents. And so she brings them, and like, we had the sweetest weekend, and it was so precious, and we were so excited. And my husband James was actually transitioning from when he was working at for the postal service at the time, so he was transitioning from one office to another, so he actually had a week off. And so the first week he was there, we were like, oh, dad gets to be home, like, how fun. He had all 4 kids, and it was just a blast. They had the best time. And then week 2 set in, and then we were like, oh, this is going to be a long time. This is going to be long
Yeah.
term. So he was able to take 8 weeks of family medical leave, and be off with the kids for 2 months. And I was still working at the time, so I'm working every day. And we, we really, the kids were so bonded to him because he was with them all the time.
All the time.
But also, they'd never had a dad before. And so this was exciting because they got a dad and they loved dad. Dad was fun. He played ball. He would, our oldest daughter at the time, she's too cool for this now, but at the time she was like really into like hair bows and like frilly princess dresses and like, and so dad would, and she wanted to, all she wanted to do was dance all the time. And so dad would dance with her and like they would have these sweet videos of them like dancing in the living room together. And like he like would get dressed because they couldn't go anywhere. So he would get dressed up in like really nice clothes and she would wear her little dress and bows and like they would have a dance party. And it was so precious. And she was just so excited to have a dad. She was a whole lot less excited to have me. She could have done without me. And just based on like circumstances of their early life, they just really didn't care to have a mom. They didn't want a mom. Moms were not good. Moms were unsafe. And so I went from being my whole life, the people like kids seemed to like me. They gravitated towards me. Like James was not a kid person, so like he avoided them,
Yeah.
to now being enemy number one and he getting all the love. And I was like, huh. And
Yeah.
actually like having this child who I just love so much, just so deeply loved, be like, I hate you and I hope you die. And you're the worst person in the world. I don't want you to be my mom. You will never be my mom. I just wish I was with my real mom. And, just be very like, and rightfully so. She was very, I would have been I would have been worse than she was, honestly. Or any of them. I would have been so much worse. Um, just tell me many times that they just didn't want me and feeling like, what are you doing, God? Like,
Yeah.
you tell me these are my, like, you so clearly put on our hearts that these were our children. You so clearly, like, made a path for like, made a literal path. There was no way they should have, like, there was, it was just blew my mind how kind the Lord was. Cause, like, we just met them at literally the perfect time. Like, it was meant for them to be our children. The Lord made that incredibly clear. And here we are. And I am just devastated because they hate me. They absolutely hate me. They won't let me touch them. They won't let me play with them. Um, I barely can talk to them without them lashing out at me. And I had walked through postpartum depression with Lottie, and I was still in that pretty heavy, but I'd started to come out, and I was like, well, we're gonna go back in. We're gonna call this post adoption depression because that's what this is.
Yeah.
That's what this is. And I just got in a really dark place and really could not feel the Lord at all. And I would tell my husband that often. I was like, James, I just don't feel the Lord. Like, he's not here. Like, he can't be here. There's no way he's here. Like, where is he? And like, why did he call me to this if he was going to leave me here?
Maybe here.
Yeah. And James was, and of course, again, so rational, hatefully so. He was like, he's here. He's just, you have to reach out to him. And I was like, what do you think I'm doing? I'm literally laying on the floor prostrate, like begging him to come to me. And he's just not coming. And it took about a year of just darkness and like just deep, like it was in just the deepest valley of my life. And it had literally happened one day and it was so wild. I just remember I was like sitting at my desk and I was still working at the time. And I was just like boohooing at my desk. I know I did that pretty often. And I was just crying. I was like, Lord, I feel like I need to be home with these kids. I feel like I need to be with them, but they don't want me to be with them. Like, what do you want me to do? And I just, I don't like, he was just so peaceful. And like my heart was so still. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, are you here? Like, are you back? And, and that day, we found out that so at the time, Lottie was in daycare full time. And I was like, I don't need to quit working because I have a daycare. Like, she's in daycare and like, no big deal. Um, But I had recently found out that I was pregnant with Isabella, who's our 4-year-old now. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna have to figure out daycare for another kid. That day, Lottie's daycare called, and they were like, "Hey," they were older. It was a older lady who ran the daycare, and she's like, "I'm actually going to retire, so I'll be closing the daycare." And I was like, "I have to go home. You're telling me to go home, aren't you?" And I remember getting home, and I was like, "James, they're closing the daycare," and he goes, "You gonna come home now?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so." And for whatever reason, at that moment, when I like submitted to the Lord and was like, okay, well, I guess then I'm gonna give up this career that I have worked so hard for, and I'll go home. Things started changing in the most incredible way. And it wasn't overnight. It's still not overnight. Um, but the Lord started opening their hearts, and I like our youngest son would not let me touch him for a year. I could not hug him, none of those things. Not long after, I was like, we were going to the grocery store, and he like held my hand for the first time willingly without me having to be like, hand, like, I gotta hold your hand. Held my hand. Started to like come to me for hugs, like without me asking. Like he would just hug me. Um, our oldest daughter kind of started to like talking to me, like talking to me, and not necessarily, you know, angrily being like, get away from me.
Yeah.
And then like it just and then our middle son, he it didn't last long with him. He pretty much about 2 months in, he was like, I gotta have a hug, like come here. And he'd been on my hip ever since. But I mean, things just started like it started to click. Life started to click into place. The reality of like, okay, like we've got these kids. And then a couple months after I came home, Isabella was born. And she just, what for whatever reason, was like what locked it in. And they were like, "Oh, we're not going anywhere. Like this is ours. These are our people." Um, and the Lord was so gracious to like bring her in at that time because, and I was so worried the whole time I was pregnant with her. I was like, Lord, please don't send me back into this depression. Like, please don't let me spiral in this. And He was so gracious to not. And thankfully, I actually did not have any postpartum depression with her at all. I was so joyful, and she brought so much light into our house and glued us together as a family in a way that like I just don't think we would have been glued otherwise. And so it was just the most precious time. But yeah, he had to like physically pull me up and be like, get up. Like you have to come on. Like we got to keep moving. Like you can't, we can't lay here. You can't lay here and die. Like you have to get up. Um, but in that time, he put so many beautiful people in our place that could like in our path that could like that helped carry me. Like helped really genuinely just carry me. Because I was just not I was completely like I was so unwell. Like but so many people were just like, "Come on. Let's go. We're going to do this and you're going to do it and it's going to be good and you're going to like it." And it's like, "Okay. Sure." Like, yay. Um But they did, and it was so, and oh my gosh, I will forever be so grateful, because they really did. They were like, God has told you to do this. You're gonna do it. It's gonna be like hard, but you're gonna do it and you're gonna like it. Let's go." Like they didn't give me any
Yeah.
kind of like slack. They were like, "You're going." Um, but yeah, and he was so gracious, and still to this day, I look back on that time and I'm like, how did we survive that? Honestly, if we survive that, we can really get through anything at this point. But and now we have 6 kids, and all of them are thriving and healthy and just ingrained in this family. Like they're stuck with us, and they know it, and they're okay. They're semi okay with it for the most part. Um, but yeah, it's just it was a wild time, a wild time for sure.
It sounds wild. I mean, Sarah, a year is a long time.
That's
Like
a
to
long time.
be in that place, a year is a
Yeah,
long time. And I don't know if you felt like this, but I think, your husband is a pastor. You've been called to this. You guys are like deeply committed to serving the Lord. And
yeah.
I would be thinking, what are you doing to me? why in the world is this happening to me
Oh
when
yeah.
all we're trying to do is
Serve.
obey and
I
serve and care for these people?
I asked that so many times. Like why? Like what? I remember one point I got a little desperate. And so I like went outside and I sat in the yard and I was like, "What do you want me to do?"
Yes.
And James was
I mean,
like
yes.
looking out the window and he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm asking a question." Like, maybe if I go outside and I yell it, you'll hear me. Like, what do you want
Yeah,
me to do? Um, and the Lord, literally, I think He just was like, I just need you to sit in this and like, I need you to come to the understanding that like, I will do as I please because you
yeah,
are my creation, but you're not by yourself.
yeah,
And I think He had to like, truly, I think He was humbling me. Because I'm very proud in the terms of like I don't want to ask for help. I don't want people to help me. I don't want anyone to know I'm struggling. I want it to look like I'm doing really like I'm doing okay. Um, and I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want to burden people. I hate to burden people. And for years the Lord had been trying to be like, you need to like let people in. You need to let people serve you, let people love you, like let people see the truth. And I was like, no, because if they do, like then the facade is gone, right?
it's gone. Yeah,
And I didn't have an option at that point. I had to like let people see that I was struggling. I had to let people see I was broken. And I had to like let people see that like I needed to be built up. And I'm still not good at it by any stretch of the imagination. I'm terrible at it. But that was the first time I'd ever gone to another person that like another believer in my local body and been like, I need help. I need you to
yeah.
help me. I am completely just gone. Like, help me. Um, and so, yeah, the Lord was like, you're going to learn that you can't do this by yourself. You have to have people. You have to have maybe, you have to have believers. Um, and so, yeah, he really used that time to humble me and to make me, James, he made me into cellophane. He made me transparent and he made me humble.
Into cellophane. I
He made me cellophane.
love that.
That's what he made me.
I have two questions.
Hmm.
I want to know, how did that experience, how did that change your relationship with God now? That's my
Oh,
first question.
yeah.
How's it different?
I So it's gonna sound crazy at first, because when I think about it, I'm like, how does that make sense? God is so kind. He's so incredibly kind, and obviously in that season, I was like, no, he's not. Um,
Yeah,
but he is because he could have let me go. Like if he wanted to, he could let me go. He could absolutely let me because he's my creator. He can do with me as he pleases. And so he could have let me go. He could have let me drown. He could have let me be alone. But he wasn't. He put us at a place. So we were serving at a different church when we found out that our kids were a possibility for us. And it was in an area where they would not have been welcome. Our children are biracial, and that was an area of the state of Alabama that was still pretty prejudiced. And so um the Lord, again, because he's kind, moved us to a church not even 30 minutes up the road that had a history of fostering, adopting kids, like the church families as a whole. There were probably 10 families in that church who had been foster and adoptive families. And he put us there. And they didn't know we were planning on doing it. I didn't know they were foster adoptive positive. I had no idea. We
yeah,
just kind of, the Lord was like, I think you guys need a break. Go to this church, be a youth pastor. And James had been a pastor at a church and it was hard fought. And this youth pastor position came up and the Lord was like, you need a break, go rest while you work on getting your kids, go there. And he put us in a church with people who literally had walked the same thing we were walking through,
yeah,
almost to a T. Um, and put people in my life that like could say it's bad and it's going to be bad for a while and you're just going to have to ride the wave, but I promise you when it's good and you're going to hold on to that. And I'll just, there's this one woman who had fostered, she had fostered two children, and then her sister-in-law and brother had fostered another child. They were all siblings when the plan was for these families to adopt these boys so they could be together still. And for some reason they weren't able to, and these boys, you know, were split apart, and it was just really tragic. And she really encouraged me, and she would say, she's like, just hold on, like just hold on to like just the fabric of Christ, like just hold on to him, because that's all you have. um Even right now, when it seems really terrible, just hold on. Like at some point you're gonna get up, but just hold on. And she would just text me that randomly, and she just said like, hold on, just hold on. And then another woman in the church who had adopted her two stepchildren would come and get our oldest and just take her for ice cream. Just come get her and take her for ice cream, and show her that like we're not all bad. Like some of us are good, and like, and then also just get her out of the house. Just get her away from us, because I know she was like, she's so tired of us. She
Yeah.
gets so annoyed with us trying to like love her. And we would drive her nuts. And she would just come get her and take her on rides and get her ice cream and like go, do little things with her. We were all still in lockdown, so we couldn't do a lot, but just do these little things with her that made her feel loved and special and like valued. And that church really, because of the kindness of God, that church really made our family feel valued. And so like when I look back at that time, it is very sorrowful, and it's very like, I cannot believe we survived that. But then I'm reminded, like, we survived that off of purely kindness from God. And so I'd always, I grew up hearing, God is gracious, he is merciful, he is just, he is all those things. I'd never heard God is kind. And that taught me nothing else. If it taught me nothing else, it taught me a lot of things, but if it taught me nothing else, it taught me that God is so incredibly kind, and God is so incredibly sovereign, that nothing, like absolutely nothing, is out of his sight. Nothing is out of his line of vision, and everything he does sets us up for later, and sets us up for the good of our good and his glory. Um, and so that solidified all that to me, but it really taught me, like, he is so kind to us. And that's something, like, we say that all the time in our house now. It's like, God is so kind. Isn't he so kind? Yeah, it just taught me how deeply rooted in kindness our God is. So incredibly kind.
Yeah. I think that's something that I'm learning too. This is a common theme that keeps coming up in my life, is like God's going to do what he wants to do. He is
Hmm.
going to do what he's going to do, and I get to then either lean into that or push away from
Yeah.
that, and it's either going to be comfortable or not comfortable, and I might not
Yeah.
like it, and it's going to be really hard. There's this, like, I
Which is
feel
so
like when I
fun.
it's
So
miserable.
fun.
Right? I'm trying to learn to like find the joy in it. But there are so many
I figured
things
out, yep.
that are upside down in our life right now. We're just going through a season of transition, and
Yeah.
truly I don't know what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
God has like brought me to this place of I only can handle today.
I,
And I'm gonna worry about tomorrow. And I wish I'd learned that like a long time ago when he tried to teach it to me for the last 15 years, but I can't. But I still find
right.
myself like, what if I don't like it? Like, I'm not gonna like the
No,
transition. It's not gonna be fun, but
that's
I
not
know
fun.
that you're sovereign, and I know that you will work it all out for my good
Yeah.
and your glory. And so I don't know, that's a takeaway, I think, for me today, because there's a lot in your story that is very much, I don't like this.
Yeah.
But God working it out. I mean, like, this is nothing for you to sit here and tell this story now, I know, but someone is going to listen to you talk about your experience, and it's going to encourage them, or you're going to be the person who understands what it feels like that they're going through. And this is a podcast for someone that lives in a different state than you. So I can only
Yeah.
imagine the ways that he has used what you've gone through to comfort other people in similar situations, just like those ladies from that
Mm.
church did for you. What do you think about community? How do you feel differently about community now and
Oh, oof.
walking through that season?
Yeah. you have to have, like, you have to. There's no, I would often like make excuses for why I didn't want people, like why I didn't need a community. So the first church that we served at, as when James was as a pastor, after we married, we were only married for a year. We moved to this church. I did not want to move to this church. I was very angry about it. I was an absolute brat. And I will admit that now. I would not then, but I was a brat. Oh, I was a brat. And we had tried, like, once I finally, got over my brattiness and I was like, oh, these people are great. Like, I love them so much. We tried community there and they just weren't having it. It's where we moved to was kind of a closed off area. Like, if you weren't from there, you're good. You go on somewhere. And so we had been yearning for it for a long time. Thankfully, we were still pretty close with all our friends from college and they didn't live super far. So we still had somewhat of a community there, but we just didn't have our local body. And so when we moved to the church, it's called Spring Hill. When we moved to Spring Hill, and we got to be in a local body that was very community oriented and driven, I mean, game changer. And then when it came to the point where we were in this process and I was just in my heat, um, it became absolutely vital and essential for a community. Like, we had to have them. Like, we would not have survived if we had not had them. Um, and we push it heavily now. We pushed it really heavily now at Redeemer. Because, like, I've heard and I hear that no man is an island. I hear that all the time. But even scripture, Acts, they were together every day,
Yeah.
praying, feasting together, being together in the Word.
Yeah.
They were constantly together. I joke often that I would love to start a commune, so we could all live together all the time. And they tell me that's a cult. Whatever. They can call it whatever they want to call it. I call it a good time. They call it a cult. I call it fun. But I genuinely crave being together with our people. I love them so much. Like, we, I mean, so we have a house next door that's about to go up for sale, and I am trying to convince some of our people, like, just buy it.
People
We
to
just live
buy
next
it.
door.
Yeah.
We can just buy it, and they're like, stop. And then another one of our church members, they live across the street, and so we're with them almost every day, and like, I just crave that so deeply in a way that I don't think I ever would have if we had not walked through this, because it really took the Lord humbling me and being like, you actually do need people. You do
Yeah.
need people. You cannot do this by yourself. Um, to open my heart back up to that after kind of the rejection of like, no. Um, and it took this for me to be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I think I do need community. I think I need to be with these people. And now I don't know if like tomorrow we got a call and they were like, we'll never come back to your house. I would be so devastated. My kids would be so devastated. Um, yeah, it's community the church is community. We are
Yeah.
called to it. We are called to be one body. And the arm doesn't live, on the other side of the world from the leg. Like, you've got to be
Yeah.
together. Like, your local body, you have to be together. Um, and so, yeah. And then I think too, like, I think about, this sounds really dark. I think about heaven a lot. I think about that all the time. But like, we're a community in heaven. We're all in community with Christ in heaven. So like, you better get used to it now, because it's
Yeah.
going to be that way for eternity. So if you're a believer in Christ, you better like community, because either in this life or the next, you going to get it. You're going to get a lot of it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's vital. It's vital to the spirit, of the soul of a believer.
I, I could not agree more. And I think I'm learning that more. I don't know. I
So bad at it.
can relate to your comment about like not wanting people to see the my struggle
Oh yeah.
earlier in my like young adult life, but as I'm getting older, I'm like, you can know everything you need to know. I don't care
Yeah.
what you know. I just need people that like truly know me and that will
Oh yeah.
encourage me back to the Lord. But it's really hard. It's You talked
Yes.
about it being a calling. It's really hard. It's hard to do it, but it's
Yeah.
also really hard to answer that call to live in community if
Hmm.
your relationship with your local body is on Sunday morning in a pew.
Yeah.
And like it has to, I think it has to go outside of that
Yeah.
for you to feel the benefit of community. It's You have to let people know you and be
Yeah.
known by those around you, and that is hard and intimidating, I
Yeah.
think, for a lot of people. I want to kind of derail this a little bit,
Hit
and
me.
we don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but we have a lot of pastors' wives in
Yeah.
our community. And I want to know, I want you to just like talk about what does it mean for you as a pastor's wife to live in community? Because I'll give you this like disclaimer. I think
Yeah.
sometimes, especially some of the pastors' wives that I know, they feel like they're held to a really high standard. And if they tell people, like, hey, I don't meet that standard, then the
Hmm.
people in their church are gonna like think poorly of
Yeah.
them and the pastor. So how what did it look like for you as a pastor's wife to be open and honest about who you are and um, almost like make the other women that are in your community feel like we're all doing this hard thing at the same
Yeah.
time.
We're all driving the same bus to Struggle
Yeah.
Town. So just get on the
Yeah.
bus. Let's go. We're
Yes.
all driving the same
Yeah.
bus, the same minivan, the same Suburban. Like, just get in the car. It's fine. Um, so I will say this: we are at a church plant, right? So
Yeah.
the culture of our church is completely based on what we've made it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't speak to established churches because established churches are hard.
Yeah.
Because there is some sort of essentially like a hierarchy. It seems like whether that's truthful or that's created, whatever. And it can be incredibly difficult for people, one, to be kind, but also to not feel that you have to perform.
Yeah.
Um, and so just speaking for our church, they knew I was a mess when we founded Redeemer. We went through a year's worth of because we planted through a network of a church planting network. So we had to go through psychiatric evaluations, we had to go through marriage counseling evaluations. We went through all the evaluations. Um and one of the most consistent things I saw on the notes they would give, because they would give you notes back, and it was funny at the time. It's still funny now, but it was like okay, it was every note was like they are overly transparent, like to a fault almost. Um,
Really.
yeah, and we are. Like, our church members have moved my underwear off the couch to sit down. They have I mean, they have seen me breastfeed my baby. Like, they have
Yeah.
like I mean, there's like nothing like our I remember when we first planted and some of our first members came along, who is now she was my best friend growing, or she was my sister's best friend growing up, and she's my best friend now. It was crazy how the Lord brought them here. Because they were not planning on living here, but it's crazy how the Lord brought them here to us. The first time we had them over to the house for dinner, Lottie was probably 3 or 4, something like that. And she at the time was going through a nudist phase, and would just randomly take her clothes off and streak through the house. And before they came, I had done all this prep work. I was like, baby, we have, Reese and Nick are coming over with their daughters. Like, if you could, please just keep your clothes on. Like, and when they leave, as soon as they leave, baby, you can get just absolutely stark naked and run through the house. I don't care. But let's keep our clothes on while they're here, okay? Because nobody wants to see your bottom. They were here 10 minutes. 10 minutes, and I just see a streak of just two little white biscuits run by. And I was like, and Nick is the father of two girls, didn't bat an eye. And he was like, okay. And Reese was like, that's how we knew that we were going to attend, because the fact that you welcomed us into your home in sweatpants, number one, which was not my best moment, but it is what it is. And then not 10 minutes in, your child just streaks across and you take off running and you try to get her. And she's like, it was just so normal.
Yeah.
It was just normal life. And that's what, and we don't, like, James doesn't go by Brother James. He's just James. He doesn't go by Pastor James. He's just James. And there's nothing wrong with going by those titles, but we are the same. He is the shepherd of our church, and he has a higher calling than I do. And he's going to have to answer for a lot more this side of heaven than I have to answer for. And, I'm thankful he's willing to take that on, because I sure don't want to do it. Um, However, like, that doesn't make him better. That doesn't make him any more holy. That doesn't make our family any more righteous. That doesn't make our family any more any closer to God than anybody else. We have the same things that every other family has. Our kids are not obedient. They love to disobey. Our kids love to talk back. Every now and then mama might slip a cuss word. It's fine. It happens. Forgiveness. But like, we're just be your normal self. And if they don't like that, then that's not your fault. Like,
Yeah.
you're not, as long as you're not like, terrible. If you can just be transparent with who you are, like, you would be so surprised at how quickly the body of Christ responds to honesty. I think for
Yeah.
so long we've been fed this narrative of um perfection, and like, if you are going to be like Christ, you must be perfect. But I don't remember anyone in the Bible who is a Christ follower who was perfect. Not a one. And we sit there and we put these people on pedestals and we talk about the heroes of the faith.
Right.
Our daughter Lottie is named after what I would consider a hero of the faith, Lottie Moon, who was a missionary to China. And if you read any of her letters, she was so hateful at the beginning of her missionary journey. She didn't want to be there. She was mad. She hated these people. And by the end of it, she wound up dying for them. She
For
wound
the
up
people.
starving herself so they would have food. And so when I think about that, I'm like, we put these people on such a pedestal, like, my toilet doesn't work. I think we're doing okay. Like, it's
Right.
okay that they see that. And so I would just encourage any pastor's wife, sometimes it can feel like a glass house. Shatter the glass, throw a rock at it, and just let your kids be kids. Don't let them be heathens, but let them be kids. Let them
Yeah.
run, let them play, and then you just be yourself. And don't assume that, like, your ability to purvey perfection is what's going to get you into heaven, and it's what's going to serve your church the best, because lying about and not being honest about what you're actually dealing with, it's going to make it 1,000 times worse than if you just were like, listen, I'm a hot mess and I need help. Like, just, and it may be met with not good, it may be met with criticism by some people, but those people are probably not people you want in your corner anyway.
Yeah. 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 That's what I was thinking too.
But it's
Because
hard.
this goes back to our conversation at the very beginning. Like everybody is struggling. Everybody has
Yeah.
things. Like they're not the same. They're not gonna be the same things, but we all
No,
got things. And
we all got
there's no
stuff.
reason to pretend like you don't. It just isolates you from the people around you.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. So you talked about, I love that you just encourage pastors' wives. What about, I want to talk about moms for just a second.
Yeah.
Mamas that are going through the foster process, or they're going to adopt, or they're thinking about adopting. How would you encourage them based on what you've experienced?
On the hatches. It's going to be okay. I have a sweet friend who she and her husband just walked through adoption and the birth of their first biological child, and it's not been easy,
It's a lot.
but
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot, but just, I'm going to say the same thing that Jen, you said. Just hold on as tightly as you possibly can to the Lord. Don't let this waver your faith. It's so easy to, when you're like, how have I been called to this? And you're just leaving me out here to dry, to waver in your faith. Don't waver in your faith. Just know that the Lord is like, He's put you here. He has put you to be the parent of the mom of these kids for a reason. And you may not see it now, but at some point you're going to be like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I get it. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Um, and, and also, like, this is going to sound wild, but just be so grateful. Be so grateful that, like, yeah, this is hard and it kind of stinks, but like, I get to be the parent of these kids. One of the things that happens a lot is people, and it drives me crazy, people be like, you're such nice people for adopting. No, I'm not. I'm terrible. These kids could have had so much better, and some reason God allowed me to have them. Like, you wouldn't thank Lottie for being born to me. I promise you, you would never thank her for that. So, like, don't thank my adoptive kids for being adopted. Like, don't be like, you should be thankful that your parents adopted you, because I promise you they're not, and I don't want them to be. No kid should be grateful to their parents for being that kid, their parents.
Yeah.
But as parents, we should be grateful to the Lord for giving us our children, because He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that for us. He didn't have to allow us to love these kids. He didn't have to allow us in on their lives. Like, especially in an adoptive situation, like, He could have given them to anyone. He literally could have given them to anyone in the world. And somehow He was like, you get to be the parent that gets to, like, when our daughter came to Christ, I got to be there for that. I got to see that. I got to watch my child walk into heaven, essentially. Like, I could have missed that. And so just be so thankful that you've been chosen, even in those moments of like, this is terrible, like, this is hard, like, how am I going to get through this? Hold on to the fact that the Lord was so gracious to allow you to sit in this moment with these kids. Not that it's not hard, because it is, but you get to sit down on this moment with these kids. You get to be the parent to these kids. You get to be the reason that, like, that you might be the reason that they hear the gospel. Like, and you might be able to watch your kid walk into salvation with Christ. Like, that is, oh, that will get you through a lot. Just reminding yourself, like, I get to do this. Like, I get to be here. It's hard and it's painful, and but nothing good is not hard. Nothing worth it is not hard fought. And so, yeah, just hold on, but just hold on. Hold on. It will get better. The sun will come out, but just hold on. Hold on to Christ. Don't waver in your faith, and just be so grateful. Just find something we do this thing at dinner every night. So you have to say one thing that you're thankful for, one good thing that happened today. And it can be the smallest thing. I took a shower today. That was mine for a long time. I got to shower today. That was mine. Or I got to go to the bathroom by myself. That was my good thing. And so, like, it can be the smallest thing, but one little mercy every day that, like, this is what I'm thankful for today. Like, this is the good thing that happened today. And just hold on to that, and just hold on to the hope that, like, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be okay. Just hold on tight.
I mean, I need that encouragement as a mom myself. So I feel like all the moms just feel really
Just hold
seen
on.
and loved,
Just hold on.
encouraged by that. But I could talk to you all day. What else do you have in your notes that you wanted to say that I haven't given you a
Mm,
chance to say
I mm, I don't even know. Just be so open to, like, to your community. Just be open to accepting community, and, like, and loving the community you're in. That's the hard part. Accepting community can sometimes be easy, but loving the one you're in can be hard. And so just be somebody you said this, be where your feet are. Be where God has put you, be where your feet are, and just lay into that as best you can. But I don't have a lot of words of wisdom. I don't have any wisdom, Catherine. I'm not very wise. We're just
that? You
we're just
have a
driving the
lot of
bus, babe.
wisdom.
We're driving a bus here, okay?
You are so silly. As you were talking about, be open to your community, it made me think about it is really easy it's not easy. I think it's easier for me to be open about what's going on with me than it is for me to be open about what's going on with somebody else
Yeah.
and loving them through their
Yeah.
journey and the way that they're growing. That can be really hard sometimes, um, to think, why we have talked about this 12 times. Like, why are you still doing this? Or we've gotten over this mountain 100 times now, and you keep going back to the other
Yeah.
side to have to go over again.
Yeah.
Or, you know, putting my own thoughts and feelings on what I would do in their situation. That can be really
Oh.
hard.
Oh, I'm
But
so bad at that.
it is so hard. But there is such you got to do it. Like, it's
Yeah.
just I couldn't go back to having like living in a silo like you talked about.
No.
to for
I'd be
all the
bored.
money in the world.
I'd be so bored. Oh,
Yeah.
I have like
Yeah.
right now. I have kids in my house. I know there's kids at my house because their mama from our church because their mama's at work and she dropped them off while I was in here, and I'm so excited because I get to go in and play with other people's kids.
Kids. Yeah.
I love and like I'd be so bored if I
Yeah.
didn't have an open home. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
thank
this
you.
time, for sharing your story. It was so good for me to hear, and I know that there are other people that are going to be encouraged by it, and I just appreciate you. Um, so
Well,
thanks for being here.
thank you for letting me talk. I'm a talker, so any opportunity to open my mouth, I'm good. I'll do it.
I love it. I love it. We'll probably have you come back and talk some more because it's good,
Bring
even
it.
if you think you don't have any wisdom. But you got a lot to share. So thanks, Sarah.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks for coming to the table. We hope today's conversation encouraged you as you seek Jesus in the big moments and the little ones. Check out the show notes for any scripture, resources, whatever we talked about today. Feel free to share this episode, leave a comment, ask a question, or share your thoughts with us. Come back and join us again next week. We'll be right here. If you haven't already, go follow or subscribe wherever you listen and find us on socials to catch up if you don't have time to listen throughout the week, or just to find out what all the next episodes are about. Also, we know you have things to say, examples to share, wisdom to give, so look for opportunities this week to share with those around you or even with us. All right, we'll see you next time.